Vincent thought he was just driving home, but on the looping road, nothing ends and everything repeats. A horrifying descent into guilt, memory, and the inescapable shadow of a past mistake. Each turn brings him closer to the truth or to something that wears his face. If you're drawn to mind-bending horror and psychological dread, this is the story for you. Rain lashed the windshield like 1,000 tiny fists. Vincent Hale squinted through the blur, the wipers screeching back and forth in a desperate rhythm. The highway stretched ahead in a twisting vein of wet asphalt, flanked by endless pine trees that bowed and shivered beneath the weight of the storm. He hadn't seen another car in over an hour. Just trees, and the road, and that same low hum on the radio that had persisted no matter how many times he changed the station. Static and whispers, not voices he could recognize, just the sound of breath brushing against the speakers. He had turned the volume down, then off completely. Still, he swore he could hear it faintly, like it had soaked into the air itself. Vincent was going home, or at least that's what he told himself. He hadn't been back in nearly a decade. His parents were long buried in the local cemetery, and the family home stood hollow on the edge of Eldridge Hollow, a forgotten speck in the woods. When the letter came last week, handwritten, no return address, he felt something stirred deep in his chest. It simply read, "Come back. You forgot something." He didn't know what, but the guilt that bled through those 5 words was enough to send him packing. The rain began to ease as the road curved left, sloping downward into a narrow pass between the hills. Vincent leaned forward, gripping the steering wheel tighter. His headlights flicked across a bent road sign, Hollow Road. Below it, a smaller sign, half buried in moss, read, "Eldridge, 5 miles." Then something odd happened. As he turned onto Hollow Road, the storm stopped completely. No drizzle, no thunder. The trees on either side of the road stood unnaturally still, frozen in place like cardboard cutouts. The silence hit him like a slap. No wind, no rustling leaves, no distant owl cries or chirping insects. Just silence. Vincent let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Then came the sound. A low, dragging scrape, as if something heavy was being pulled across gravel. But there was no shoulder on this road, and the only thing ahead was darkness and a sliver of dim moonlight breaking through the clouds. He slowed the car, peering out into the trees. Nothing. The scrape came again. Longer this time, closer. He rolled the window down a few inches. The air smelled like wet soil and old metal, the kind of scent that clung to forgotten things. The sound had stopped again. Shaking his head, Vincent rolled the window back up and pressed on the gas. The road twisted deeper through the woods, narrowing with each mile. His GPS had long since frozen, the screen stuck on a blank loading circle. After a few more minutes, something familiar prickled the back of his mind. The same road sign, bent, Hollow Road. Below it, Eldridge, 5 miles. His foot eased off the gas. "What the hell?" he muttered. Maybe he had taken a wrong turn, doubled back by mistake. He checked his phone again. No signal. Just the battery icon. Slowly bleeding out, he continued driving. The radio, though still off, emitted a faint buzz. Vincent pressed his knuckles against his temple, trying to chase away the growing tension in his skull. Maybe he was just tired. Maybe this was what sleep deprivation felt like. But the hairs on his arms told him otherwise. 10 minutes passed. Then he saw it again. Hollow Road. Eldridge, 5 miles. This time he stopped the car. The engine ticked in the silence. He got out, shoes crunching wet gravel, and approached the sign. He touched the metal pole. It was cold. The tree stood still. "Hello," he called out, voice tight. Nothing. He walked a few paces toward the woods, heart thudding like a war drum. There was something behind the trees, a shape. No, a reflection, a glint of something metallic. He crouched slightly, trying to get a better look. A soft voice whispered, "Vincent." He spun around. No one. Back in the car, his hands trembled as he restarted the engine. He floored it, eyes glued to the road. Trees whipped past. The road a blur beneath his wheels. He didn't stop. Not until he saw the sign again. Hollow Road. Eldridge. 5 miles. The third time broke something inside him. He screamed, punched the steering wheel, cursed the road, the trees, the storm that had vanished like a lie. He reversed, turned the car around, drove the other way. For nearly 15 minutes, until the same sign greeted him once more. His throat went dry. The scraping had never stopped. It was under the car now, dragging, following. Then headlights flickered ahead. A vehicle, parked sideways on the shoulder. A figure stood beside it, half lit by his approaching beams. As Vincent slowed, his heart plummeted into his gut. The man looked just like him. Same coat, same jeans, same weary eyes. The other Vincent didn't move. He just stared. And smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was wide, hungry. Vincent slammed the brakes. The other figure cocked his head and stepped back, vanishing into the woods. Vincent sat frozen, gripping the wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. Something wet dripped onto his thigh. He looked up. The roof of the car wasn't leaking. It was inside. From the rearview mirror, a shape leaned forward slowly from the back seat. A breath brushed the side of his neck. Then a voice. "You forgot something." The engine stalled, and the woods went completely dark. Vincent jolted awake with a gasp, heart hammering against his ribs. His hands were still clenched around the steering wheel, his spine twisted at an awkward angle. The engine was silent, the dashboard dead. Everything inside the car was soaked in cold sweat and an unnatural stillness. There was no sign of the man, the other him. No breath on his neck, no presence in the back seat. Only silence, so complete it roared in his ears. Outside, the world was drenched in fog, thick gray. Vincent rubbed at the glass with the sleeve of his jacket. It smeared, barely improving the view. The trees had vanished, swallowed by the mist. He opened the door slowly. It groaned like an old coffin. The air hit him like a sponge, wet, cold, choking. Even his breath didn't rise. It vanished immediately, devoured by the fog. He stepped out onto the gravel, every crunch beneath his boots muffled, like the sound itself was being swallowed. Vincent moved to the front of the car and popped the hood. Steam hissed out, coiling like fingers into the fog. The battery was dead. That made no sense. It had been working just an hour ago. The headlights had been on. The engine had stalled, but the battery shouldn't be drained. Something was wrong with this road. He slammed the hood shut and leaned back against the car, trying to calm his breathing. That's when he heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. Not from the trees this time, from behind. He turned. The rear window of his car was fogged over, but something moved just beyond the glass. A smear, a print, a hand. Vincent froze. The hand slid down slowly, leaving behind 5 long streaks. Then it was gone. He yanked the back door open. Nothing, just the faint scent of wet leaves and something older, something metallic. Blood? He backed away, pulse racing. The fog thickened, curling around his legs. Visibility dropped to only a few feet in every direction. The road behind him had vanished. No horizon, no sky, just white, endless white. Vincent stumbled forward, determined to walk, to find something, anything. He followed the edge of the road, boots slipping slightly on the damp gravel. Every step was a whisper. Every breath sounded like it wasn't his. Then came the clink, a soft metallic chime, like a wind bell, faint, irregular, coming from the fog ahead. He stopped walking, listened. Clink, clink, clink. It reminded him of the brass bell his mother used to hang on their front porch. That same delicate tone swaying in the breeze. But there was no breeze here. Only the suffocating stillness of fog. Vincent pressed forward. After a few minutes, he saw it. A mailbox, wooden, crooked on its post, the red flag snapped off and lying in the dirt. Beside it, a rusted gate and a fence barely standing upright. A house loomed beyond, faint and flickering like a mirage. No lights, no movement. He approached the mailbox first. There was a name carved into the side. But the wood was so warped and weathered that the letters had blurred together into nonsense. He reached for the lid. It creaked open. Inside was a mirror, just a small, cracked piece of glass. His own reflection stared back at him, wide-eyed, pale, lips parted. But as he looked, his reflection smiled. Vincent did not. He slammed the lid shut. The clink sound returned. This time from the house. He turned toward it, every part of him screaming to leave, to run. But where could he go? The road had betrayed him. The car had died. The fog refused to lift. He passed through the gate. The hinges howled. The porch groaned beneath his weight. The front door was ajar. He pushed it open. The house was silent. Not abandoned, not ruined, just untouched, frozen in time. Dust floated like snowflakes in the beam of light from the door. Faded wallpaper curled at the edges. A grandfather clock stood still in the hallway, its pendulum hanging limp. From the ceiling above, water dripped slowly, rhythmically. Drip, drip, drip. He called out, "Hello?" No response, just the drip and the soft, creak of the floor behind him. He turned. Nothing. The air inside the house was heavy with mildew and something sour. The smell of something once living, long decayed. Vincent moved through the hallway, pausing at a photograph hanging crooked on the wall. It was him, standing in front of this very house. Same jacket, same tired eyes. The date on the bottom corner read October 18, 2023. His birthday. He didn't remember taking this photo. He'd never been here before. His chest tightened. The sound of footsteps came from upstairs. Slow, measured. Vincent backed away, bumping into a table and knocking over a ceramic vase. It shattered on the floor with a high-pitched scream. The footsteps stopped. Then a whisper. "Don't go upstairs." His breath caught in his throat. He turned to the front door, ready to bolt. But the fog had crept inside. The doorway no longer showed the outside, only white. He was trapped. The clock behind him began to tick. Tick, tick, tick. It hadn't worked a moment ago. He turned back toward the staircase. A figure stood at the top. Not a shadow, not a silhouette. It was him, again. This one was soaked, hair matted to his skull, face bruised and scratched. His eyes were sunken, teeth blood-stained. But he smiled with the same slow curl. "Welcome back," the figure rasped. Vincent took a step back. The figure stepped forward. The house moaned. The walls vibrated. The floor beneath Vincent cracked. Wood splintered. He fell, straight through the boards into a black void. Not a basement, not dirt, just dark. As he fell, the ticking turned into laughter. High-pitched, familiar. His own voice. Laughing. Then came the scraping sound again. And the whisper, clear this time. "You forgot the way out." The fog swallowed him whole. Vincent awoke with a gasp, lungs convulsing like he had surfaced from deep water. Except there was no water, no sound, just darkness and cold. The floor beneath him was not floor at all, but damp earth. It crumbled beneath his fingertips like it had been buried for centuries. His body ached, spine twisted, knees tucked awkwardly beneath him. He rolled onto his back, wincing as he sat up. His breath plumed into the dark. Above, the ceiling barely visible. Concrete, cracked, and close. Too close. He wasn't in the house anymore. Not in the woods. Not on the road. He was underground. His voice cracked. "Hello?" The echo came back wrong. Slower than it should have been. Like something was mimicking him with a delay. He turned his head, and there it was. His car. Perfectly intact. Parked 5 feet away in the middle of the dirt room. Like someone had placed it there. The headlights were on, cutting through the black like twin blades. The driver's side door was wide open. He stood, legs shaking. Dust flaked from the ceiling above. His heart thudded wildly in his chest. The radio was on. A soft buzz, static, but beneath it, a hum. No music, just a voice, whispering too low to catch. Like someone was pressing their lips to the microphone and letting secrets pour out in a language only the dead could understand. Vincent stepped toward the car. The hum grew louder. He leaned into the driver's side, and as soon as he did, the voice changed. Clear now, familiar. It was his own voice. "You're not supposed to be here." He recoiled, stumbling backward, tripping on uneven ground. The static shrieked. The radio snapped off. Silence. Then a low knock from the trunk. One knock, then another. Vincent stood frozen, breath caught in his throat. The knocks continued, each one louder than the last. Knock, knock, knock. Then came the scratching, slow, clawing, as if fingernails were raking along the inside of the trunk lid. He forced himself forward, every step heavier than the last. His fingers touched the trunk release. The scratching stopped. He opened it, empty, except a small cassette tape sat in the center of the trunk, perfectly centered, unlabeled, old. The magnetic strip torn at the corner like it had been rewound too many times. Vincent picked it up. His hands were shaking. A moment he did, the headlights flickered and the radio switched on again. But this time, it wasn't static. It was a song. Faint, fuzzy, something from the 1950s, slow and distorted. A woman's voice stretched like rubber. "I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places." He stared at the radio. The dials were spinning on their own, cycling through stations that didn't exist. The song never changed. The same voice, the same line. Again and again. Vincent looked at the tape, then at the dashboard. The tape deck had returned. He hadn't seen one in years. His car didn't have one. But now it did. With the road loops every hour. I've seen myself 6 times. I left the car once. Don't leave the car. It finds you when you're outside. A breath, then a whispered plea. If you're hearing this, you're already too deep. Don't trust anything, especially not me. Click. Tape ended. Vincent pulled it out, staring at it like it might burst into flames. Then the car door slammed shut on its own. He spun around. No one. Just the radio, slowly clicking through frequencies again. The fog had returned, not outside, inside the car, curling out from the vents like breath from a corpse. He backed away, slowly, and then he saw it. A shape in the passenger seat. It wasn't there a second ago. Long, thin limbs, bent in unnatural angles, face obscured by shadow. Vincent couldn't move. The figure turned slowly toward him and spoke, but it didn't have a mouth. The voice came from the radio. "Do you know the way back?" Vincent turned and ran, away from the car, away from the sound. The world blurred. The ground pulsed. He tripped, falling forward into the dirt, and landed on asphalt. He looked up. The fog lifted slightly. He was back on the road, standing alone. The car was gone, but the road sign remained. Hollow Road, Eldridge, 5 miles. He laughed, a sound too dry, too desperate. It cracked in his throat. Somewhere far behind, the radio played. "I'll be seeing you." Then a whisper, breathless and wet. Again and again, and the road stretched on forever. The gas station appeared like a mirage. Faded red neon flickered in the fog, spelling out half a word. Gah. The remaining letters were lost in the shadows, consumed by vines and rot. Vincent stared at it, blinking slowly, unsure if it was real or another cruel fabrication of the looping road. He was walking now. The car had vanished again, swallowed by the fog hours ago. His legs burned. His throat was dry. Every step echoed in his head like a scream trapped behind bone. The only consistent companion was the low buzz in his ears, like radio static pressed too close. The station's parking lot was cracked, weeds bursting through the pavement like veins. Old oil stains marked the spots where cars once sat, long since gone. The building itself leaned slightly to the left, as if tired of standing. One of the windows had been boarded up. The other was covered from the inside with yellowed newspaper, now torn and curling with age. As he stepped closer, the motion sensor light above the door sputtered to life. It shouldn't have worked, but it did. The mechanical whine of the flickering bulb buzzed overhead. It bathed the entrance in sickly yellow, illuminating dead moths piled beneath it like ash. Vincent pushed the door open. A rusted bell above the frame gave a faint ting, then fell silent. Inside, the place reeked of mildew, old gasoline, and something sour, something decayed. The aisles were short, narrow, and mostly empty. A few cans of expired beans, some broken light bulbs, a wall of warped magazines. Behind the counter sat an old radio, covered in dust, still playing. "I'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places." Vincent flinched. That same warped voice from his car. He moved toward it slowly, reached for the dial. The music stopped. A voice replaced it. Not his, not the ghostly whisper from the tape. This one was different. Female, young, hoarse with fear. "If anyone hears this, please, it's not a road, it's a cage. I've been here 6 days, or 6 years, I can't tell anymore. It wears your face, it wears your voice. Don't talk to it. Don't let it follow you inside." Click. Silence. Then the bell rang again, but the door hadn't moved. Vincent turned. No one there. He stepped away from the counter, heart pounding now, eyes darting. A faint drip, drip, drip echoed from the back room behind a warped employees-only door. The sound was uneven, wet, like something leaking from a cracked skull. He told himself not to open it, but he did. The door creaked inward, hinges crying in protest. A single fluorescent tube flickered above, barely illuminating the cramped storage room. Shelves lined the walls, stocked with dusty boxes and old receipts. But it was the smell that hit him hardest. Rot, thick and suffocating. On the floor was a trail of footprints, bare, wet, leading toward a large fuel tank in the corner. Something moved behind it. He stepped closer, slow and deliberate, each footfall muffled by grime. He rounded the corner and saw nothing, just the back wall. The footprints stopped there, but the wall was wrong. The bricks around the edges looked real, but the center shimmered slightly, like heat rising from pavement. He reached out. His fingers passed through the surface like mist, and then a face pushed through, his own, twisted, burned, eyes melted to sockets, skin stretched tight across bone. It opened its mouth, but instead of a scream, a flood of gasoline poured out, thick, choking, filling the room with the sharp sting of fumes. Vincent stumbled back, coughing violently. His head spun. The hallucination, if that's what it was, vanished as the shimmer faded. The footprints were gone. He turned to leave, but the door was gone too. Only a wall now. Then came the sound of footsteps, slow, wet, from behind. Vincent ran to the wall, pounded his fists against it. "Let me out!" No answer. Only the voice, his voice, from inside his head. "You're not supposed to be awake yet." He turned around. A figure stood in the middle of the room, thin, wrapped in wet clothing. A gasoline nozzle jammed into its own mouth, black liquid pouring from the corners of its lips. The creature convulsed slightly, as if laughing. The sound of gurgling mixed with static. Vincent backed into the wall, searching for anything. An exit, a weapon, a lie. His hand brushed something cold, a lighter. Old, rusted, engraved with the initials T.H. He didn't know why, but it felt familiar. He flicked it once. No flame. Twice. Still nothing. The figure lurched forward. He struck it again. Flame. Without thinking, Vincent dropped the lighter to the floor. A gasoline ignited instantly. Flames roared to life, swallowing the room in orange and black. The figure didn't scream. It just watched him. Eyes hollow, mouth still pouring. Vincent fell backward through the fire and landed on the road again, flat on his back, gasping, smoke trailing from his jacket. The gas station was gone. Only the sign remained. Hollow Road, Eldridge, 5 miles. The lighter was still in his hand, still warm. Behind him, the air whispered, "Do it again." And the fog returned. Vincent's eyes burned as he pulled himself upright from the cracked asphalt. The lighter slipped from his hand and clattered to the ground. The last vestige of warmth it offered faded quickly, swallowed by the wet cold crawling up from the road itself. The fog hadn't just returned, it had grown. Denser now, heavier. Each breath was like inhaling cotton soaked in ice water. The trees were no longer silhouettes. They were gone completely, replaced by an endless, colorless wall of haze. He staggered forward, each step a question to the ground beneath his boots. Would it hold? Would it crumble? Would it pull him down again? A new sound rose in the distance. Wind chimes. But there was no wind. Just the gentle ting-ting of hollow metal echoing from somewhere ahead, uneven, irregular, like it was being touched, not by air, but by fingers. Vincent followed it. His boots crunched glass he hadn't seen. Shards scattered across the road. He bent down to examine one and saw that it wasn't glass at all. It was plastic, a broken taillight. Nearby, it hadn't been there before. "Welcome back, Vincent. Next exit, your fault." He blinked. The letters were painted in pristine white, fresh, almost wet. Beneath it, someone, or something, had scratched in words with a jagged object, carving through the paint. You knew what would happen. He stepped back from the sign as a low groan echoed through the fog, like the sound of a dying engine or the moan of something too large to see. The wind chimes stopped, then a click behind him. He turned slowly. A small shack had appeared, not there moments ago. It leaned sideways, patched with corrugated iron and wood planks, too thin to be structural. Its door was crooked, its window smeared with handprints. The sound came again, click, click, like a camera shutter. Vincent approached the shack, the air growing colder with each step. A guttural hum vibrated through the fog now, not coming from the shack, but from beneath it. He reached the door and pushed it open. The inside was impossibly large. Dark wooden walls lined with photographs, hundreds of them, some pinned, others nailed, all black and white, all foggy, like taken through smoke. Some were burned at the edges, and every photo had him in it. Vincent, driving, sleeping, screaming, standing on this same road, dead. He stepped closer. The photos began to buzz, a sound like static caught in the throat of something alive. A projector in the center of the room flicked on. Its bulb flared without warning, casting an image onto the opposite wall. Home. His childhood living room. Old couch, blue wallpaper. His mother's antique mirror in the corner. Then motion. His younger self, early 20s, walking across the frame, on the phone, laughing. Vincent whispered, "What is this?" The version of him on the screen stopped suddenly, looked toward the camera. His smile faded. Then he whispered something too quiet to hear. But the sound bled out from behind Vincent instead of the projector. Right behind him. "You left him there." He turned. The shack was gone. Only the projector remained, sitting in the middle of the road, still humming, still casting light. He looked up. The sign had changed again. "Welcome back, Vincent. Next exit, Thomas." His breath caught. Thomas, his brother, gone for 10 years. A disappearance. A case closed in frustration. No leads, no remains. Vincent had let it go, or tried to. He remembered the last time they spoke. An argument. Vincent telling him not to come home, that it wasn't his problem anymore, that he didn't care. But he had cared, and now the road remembered. Behind him, the sound of footsteps, soft, barefoot. Vincent didn't move. A voice, quiet, familiar. "Why didn't you look for me?" He turned. There, standing in the middle of the fog, was Thomas. Not as he remembered. Paler, eyes sunken, lips slightly parted. His voice was gentle. "I followed the road, like you told me to. You said it would take me home." Vincent's throat tightened. "Thomas, I didn't think it would." Thomas stepped closer. "You knew it looped. You saw it. You left me anyway." Then his body flickered. For a moment it wasn't Thomas. It was another Vincent. Mouth stitched shut, eyes bleeding. Then it was Thomas again. Vincent fell to his knees. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Thomas knelt beside him. "Say it louder. The road needs to hear it." The fog pulsed. The sign behind them changed once more. "You can leave now, but not alone." Vincent looked at his brother, then the road, then the projector still running, showing the two of them now, on their knees in the middle of nowhere, watching themselves. Vincent reached out, touched Thomas's shoulder. Cold, real. "I'll bring you back," he said. Thomas nodded, but his eyes didn't move. "You'll have to take my place first." Then the road cracked beneath them, and the fog screamed. The road groaned beneath Vincent's knees. Beneath the asphalt, something shifted, like a muscle tightening under flesh. Thomas had vanished. No trace, no footsteps, only the echo of his voice lingering in the mist. "You'll have to take my place first." The words clung to Vincent's skin like oil. He stood slowly, muscles aching, ears ringing with a high-pitched tone that came and went like breathing. The fog curled tighter, pressing against his chest, crawling into his mouth and nose. Until he heard the waving. It didn't make sense at first, not as sound, but he felt it, like a motion cutting the air, slicing through the silence. His skin prickled, his breath caught. He turned his head toward the ditch. There, just beyond the edge of the road, half hidden in a nest of black ferns and mud, a figure was waving. Not frantically, slowly, like someone greeting a friend across a field. One arm lifted, the other lay at an impossible angle, broken or maybe missing. The face was pale, unmoving, the eyes fixed on him. Vincent blinked once, and the figure smiled, not wide, not crazed, just knowing. He stepped closer. Gravel crackled beneath his boots, then sank into soft earth. The ditch seemed deeper than it should have been. The road sloped slightly here, but the darkness at the bottom stretched unnaturally far. "Hello?" he said. The waving continued, steady, patient. He knelt near the edge. "Who are you?" The figure's mouth opened. No words, just a clicking noise, like a throat clearing without lungs behind it. Vincent leaned forward. The ditch groaned. Then the figure said, in a voice made of cracked wood and whispering smoke, "You left me too." Vincent stumbled back. "No," he whispered, "I don't know you." The figure tilted its head, then pointed behind Vincent. He turned. Another figure stood across the road now, a mirror of the first. This one didn't wave. It just stared. Blood-stained shirt, a face half torn. And it was him, Vincent. Not burned, not distorted. This one looked exactly like him, but wrong. It raised a hand, placed a single finger to its lips. Shh! Then it stepped backward and vanished into the fog. Vincent spun back toward the ditch. The original figure was crawling upward now, slowly, silently. Its hands made no sound against the grass. Its mouth never closed. The smile stretched slightly wider as it approached. Vincent ran. He didn't think. He didn't look back. The road stretched before him like an unraveling thread. His boots slammed the pavement, heartbeat pounding in his ears. The fog chased him, curled around his legs, pulled at his coat. He saw movement ahead. Light. A flickering bulb, like the one outside the gas station. But this time it hovered in the air, attached to nothing. Just swinging, suspended by invisible wire. Below it, a bench, wooden, splintered. Resting on the side of the road like a bus stop for ghosts, Vincent slowed, gasping. A sign hovered beside the bench. No pole, just floating. passengers only. He approached the bench cautiously, eyes scanning the road behind him. No sign of the crawling figure. No sound. Just the hum of the light above. He sat. For the first time in hours or days, he allowed himself to breathe. The air shifted. Next to him, someone sat down. Vincent froze. The bench creaked under the new weight. He turned his head slowly. The man beside him wore a tattered trench coat. His face was shadowed beneath a wide-brimmed hat. Smoke leaked from beneath his collar, as if something smoldered inside his chest. The man didn't look at Vincent, just stared straight ahead. "You missed your stop," the man said, voice dry like old paper. Vincent's voice trembled. "What stop?" The man smiled without turning. "The one where you could still leave." They sat in silence. The fog pulsed. Somewhere far off a baby cried. Then the man leaned in closer. "You keep running, but the road never moves. You keep breathing, but the air belongs to it now. And every version of you that turns back becomes something else." Vincent gritted his teeth. "What do you want from me?" The man chuckled softly. "Not me, friend. You. You left too many pieces behind. Now they want to return." From the ditch across the road, hands began to rise. Dozens of them. Thin, rotting, pale as bone. Reaching upward, waving, beckoning. Each hand wore something familiar. A ring, a watch, a scar. Each one belonged to him. Vincent stood. The light above the bench flickered violently. The man stood too. He reached into his coat and pulled out a mirror. Small, circular, framed in rust. He handed it to Vincent. "You'll need this to see who you are when the last wave comes." Then he vanished. No sound, no smoke, just gone. Vincent looked into the mirror. His face stared back. And then it blinked out of sync and grinned. A grin wider than his own. The glass cracked. Behind him, the road whispered. "Someone is waiting for you in every ditch you passed." And far ahead, a traffic light blinked red, floating, spinning, whispering. "Stop! Stop! Stop!" Vincent stood beneath the spinning red light. It hovered 6 feet above the road, untethered to any pole or wire, rotating with mechanical precision. The mist around it throbbed red with every pulse. His breath rose in uneven clouds as he stared up at it. "Stop, stop, stop." The whisper echoed from the glass mirror in his hand. Thin cracks spidered across the surface, pulsing faintly like veins. His own reflection inside the mirror flickered, sometimes moving when he didn't, sometimes mouthing words he hadn't spoken. The road beneath him was wet again, though there had been no rain. Behind him, the bench and the trench-coated man were gone. The waving hands in the ditch had melted back into the earth, leaving behind only the faint sound of dirt shifting, like something not quite buried. Vincent took a step forward. The red light turned green. But no words accompanied the change. Just silence, thick and complete. He walked. The fog parted with each step, reluctant but obedient. Trees emerged again, bent, crooked, their trunks scarred with long vertical slashes. One tree had something tied around it, a piece of cloth blackened and rotting, his own jacket sleeve. Vincent didn't remember losing it. He kept walking. The trees grew closer to the road, limbs dipping low like arms trying to reach for him. He didn't dare touch them. Then in the distance, he saw movement. A man standing in the middle of the road, facing away. Vincent slowed, heartbeat climbing. The man was dressed like him. Same jeans, same boots, same tear across the right shoulder. He called out, his voice low, uncertain. "Hello?" The man didn't move. Vincent stepped closer, 10 feet away now. He raised the mirror slowly and angled it toward the figure. The reflection showed something else entirely. Not a man. A shape, twisted, crawling, its limbs too long, its spine curved backward. Its head split down the center, leaking shadow. In the mirror, it screamed, but in front of him, it remained still. Vincent lowered the mirror. The figure in the road was still facing away. Then it turned, slowly, too slowly, and it was him. Not a copy, not an echo. It was him. Same face, same scars, same haunted eyes. But the mouth, it smiled wider than a mouth should, then opened. "You're almost ready." The voice was his, but not. It layered beneath itself, like multiple versions of him speaking at once, one tired, one angry, one weeping. Vincent staggered back. The other him stepped forward. Vincent raised the mirror again. The reflection this time showed the road ahead, split in 2 directions. One path descended into fog. The other wound upward into pitch darkness. The mirror cracked further. He looked up. The other him was inches away now, face expressionless. "You looped too many times," it said. "You forgot where it started." Vincent shook his head. "I didn't forget." "You did." The thing smiled again. "And I remembered for you." It held out its hand. Inside its palm, a key, rust-covered, bent. Vincent hesitated. "What does it open?" The answer was soft. "The door that leads to your end, or his." Vincent took the key. The figure nodded, then crumbled. It didn't fall. It peeled. First the skin, sliding off like wet paper, then the bone, shivering apart like dry leaves. Finally, the voice, still hanging in the air, long after the body was gone. "You'll be next if you don't choose." Vincent clutched the key and turned toward the path ahead. The road had split now, just as the mirror had shown. Fog below, darkness above. In the silence, the trees creaked, and from both paths, a sound. From the left, Thomas. Crying from the right, himself screaming. Vincent stepped forward and chose. Vincent chose the darkness, the right path. He stepped into the pitch, leaving the whispers of his weeping brother behind. The fog did not follow him here. Instead, the shadows wrapped around his ankles like roots, pulling with quiet intent. The road narrowed, shoulders devoured by thorn bushes that glistened with dew or blood. He couldn't tell. The trees pressed inward, bending over the asphalt like mourners. Vincent's footsteps echoed in a place where there should have been no echo. Every sound he made felt borrowed. He kept walking. The mirror in his pocket was silent now. No more pulses or whispers. The key he had taken from the other him weighed heavy in his coat. It clicked softly with each movement, a rhythmic, metallic heartbeat. Then something shifted. He heard it, behind him, breathing, soft, wet, close. Not from the woods, not from the shadows, from inside the car. He stopped. There was no car, but he could feel it. Leather beneath him, the vibration of the engine humming low. The faint scent of old air freshener and sweat. He turned around. The road was empty, still. The breathing continued, and it was growing closer. He stepped backward, hands twitching at his sides. The sound was in his ears now, not surrounding him, but inside him, as if someone were breathing through his own lungs. A whisper followed it. "You left the door open." Vincent turned again. A car now stood in the road ahead, his car. Black, mud-smeared, one headlight shattered. It hadn't been there a moment ago. The driver's side door hung ajar. The engine idled softly, and from the back seat, a fogged window. Vincent approached slowly, knees shaking. The cold here was different. Interior cold, like air trapped inside something buried. He placed a hand on the hood. Warm. He circled to the driver's side, peered in. Empty. The dashboard lights flickered. The radio was silent. The gear shifter was stuck in reverse. But the back seat window was breathing. Condensation bloomed, then cleared, bloomed again. Someone was inside. He opened the driver's door and slid in, his reflection watching from the cracked rearview mirror. He didn't want to look back, but he had to. He turned. The back seat was empty. The breathing stopped. Then, hands from beneath the seat. Thin, pale, crawling out between the cushions like roots breaking through a coffin. They gripped the seat back slowly, pulling something upward. Vincent scrambled out of the car, stumbling into the middle of the road. The figure rose. It was him. Eyes stitched shut with wire, mouth packed with dirt, every inch of skin flayed and rearranged, like a puzzle never meant to be solved. The figure tilted its head, twitching slightly. Then it hissed, not from its mouth, but from its throat. A long sssss, like a librarian warning silence. Vincent raised the key in his hand. The creature recoiled. He stepped forward, and it hissed again, backing into the car. Without a word, Vincent slammed the door shut and pressed the key into the ignition slot that hadn't been there a second ago. It fit perfectly. He turned it. The engine roared. But it wasn't a car engine. It was a heartbeat. Slow, deep, so loud the asphalt vibrated beneath his feet. The mirror in his pocket cracked again. The car lights flared blood red. Then a scream erupted from the back seat. Vincent opened the door. Nothing. Only a seatbelt swinging slowly, ticking against the doorframe. He stepped back. The car evaporated before his eyes, into smoke, then into ash, then into silence. The road continued. Far ahead, a new sound. A voice, not a scream this time, not a whisper. A boy calling his name, Vincent. Soft, hopeful, afraid. Thomas, alive. Vincent ran. The darkness pulled at him, but he ran anyway. The key still clutched tight, the mirror broken in his coat, and the road beneath him began to move. Vincent ran, the echo of his name hanging in the air like the last breath of a dying dream. The darkness around him pulsed in time with his heart. Each step felt like it cracked open the road beneath him. Asphalt splintered. The fog above twisted like smoke, sucked into a giant unseen lung. Ahead, the road no longer stretched. It collapsed inward, spiraling into itself, forming a tunnel made of broken signs, shattered windshields, tree limbs, and bones. Signs he had seen, faces he had forgotten. The tunnel breathed. Vincent! The voice again. Thomas. Close now. He stepped into the spiral. The world constricted. Each wall he passed displayed flickering glimpses of roads that never existed. Gas stations that burned without fire. A mirror that bled from its edges. And always, always a version of himself, dead, dying, or smiling when he shouldn't be. Vincent's pace slowed. The spiral was alive, the walls damp with memory. The deeper he went, the louder the heartbeat beneath the road became. Steady, slow, subterranean. Then he saw the blood. It seeped from the cracks in the walls, thick, black, pooled at his feet. He stepped over it. The tunnel widened. At its center, a door, old, wooden, carved with patterns of spirals and eyes and something that looked like ribs curling into the handle. The mirror in his coat vibrated. He took it out. Only half of his face remained in the reflection. The other half was watching him, smiling. He shoved it away and approached the door. The key in his hand pulsed once. He inserted it into the lock. It clicked. He opened the door. Beyond it, a room. Silent, circular, its walls papered in photographs. Hundreds. All of him, all of Thomas. As children, as teenagers, as adults. Some real, some impossible. One showed Vincent standing over a grave that bore his own name. Another showed Thomas standing at the edge of Hollow Road, waving goodbye to no one. And in the center of the room, a chair, and in the chair, Vincent, his twin in flesh, not an echo, not a shade. This version bled from the mouth, wrists, and eyes, deep, slow bleeding, as if every memory he had ever carried had been carved out one by one. His head lolled, barely upright, but he was smiling. He raised his face. Vincent staggered back. The wounded version spoke. You almost made it. But you forgot what this road does. Vincent's throat tightened. What are you? I'm the piece you left behind when you chose to forget. The bleeding Vincent stood, bones cracking. I watched every loop, felt every crash, died in every version while you ran. Vincent shook his head. No, I came back. I'm here to take Thomas out. The figure stepped forward, dragging one foot. You don't get to save anyone, not without replacing someone else. That's the cost. That's the road. Vincent backed away until his spine met the wall. The photos behind him shifted. His eyes in the pictures moved, watched him, weeping, laughing. rotting. What happens if I don't? Vincent whispered. The bleeding version smiled again. Blood poured down his chin like black syrup. Then I bleed forever, and Thomas never stops calling your name. He reached into his chest and pulled out something. A small toy soldier. Plastic. Vincent remembered it instantly. Thomas's favorite. He had buried it with him in a box long ago. Except Thomas had never died. Not until the road took him. The bleeding figure offered the toy. Vincent reached for it. Their fingers brushed. Everything changed. He saw it all. Every loop, every scream. Every time he looked away when Thomas asked for help. Every moment he chose not to remember. The mirror in his coat exploded. The tunnel behind him shrieked. And the bleeding Vincent collapsed into his arms. Vincent whispered, "I remember." The body dissolved into ash. The room crumbled. All that remained was a voice in the dark. Thomas, close now, frightened. Vincent stood, the toy soldier in one hand, and the road opened once more. Straight, endless. This time, no signs, just footprints, small, leading home. Vincent followed the footprints. Each step felt heavier, like the road was trying to pull him back, swallow him before he could reach the end. The shadows pressed close, less like mist now, and more like breath, warm and rancid, whispering through the cracks in the air. The footprints were unmistakably Thomas's, smaller than his own. Air. The soles marked with fine scars Vincent remembered from childhood. An accident with broken glass in the backyard. He had carried Thomas to the bathroom, wrapped his foot in towels, promised it wouldn't hurt again. But it had. Again and again. Now the road remembered it too. He walked on. The sky overhead cracked faintly, not thunder, something thinner, like old fabric tearing. A pale light leaked through for a moment before vanishing. Time here didn't pass. It stretched. Eventually, the road ended. Not in a town, not in a house, in a mirror, 10 feet tall, framed in blackened wood, etched with spirals and names Vincent didn't recognize. The surface of the mirror rippled like water. Vincent approached. His own reflection stood inside, but older, hunched, gray around the temples, dressed in the same torn coat. The reflection did not mimic him. It watched, and behind that version of him was Thomas, a boy, still 9 years old, pale, frightened, eyes wide, trapped. Vincent raised his hand. The mirror Vincent did not. Instead, the reflection opened its mouth, and Thomas's voice came out. "He's still out there. I'm still here." Vincent stepped closer. The mirror throbbed with light. A choice waited. Behind him, the road had vanished. There was no going back. He looked down at the toy soldier in his palm, the one Thomas had clung to on their last real day together. Vincent had taken it from the bleeding version of himself. He had carried it through the spiral, through the breathing road, through the ditch that had tried to claim him. He closed his fingers around it and stepped through the mirror. The cold was immediate, not just on his skin, but in his bones, in his thoughts, in the spaces between memories. He was standing in a room he barely recognized. Wallpaper peeled in long strips, A ceiling fan spun with a mechanical tick, though no power fed it. On the floor, Thomas, curled, shaking, alive. Vincent rushed forward. The boy flinched. His eyes locked onto Vincent, wild with fear, until they softened. "Vincent?" he whispered. Tears filled Vincent's eyes. He knelt beside him, hands trembling. "I'm here." Thomas clutched the toy soldier. "But you left me," he said softly. Vincent didn't answer. Instead, he pulled his brother into his arms. The room around them began to shake. Dust fell from the ceiling. The mirror cracked behind him. A voice hissed from the walls. "Only one leaves." Vincent turned. The mirror's surface boiled. The older version of him, the tired one, the one who watched but never acted, stepped through. This one didn't smile. It pointed at Thomas. "You're not done. One of you stays." Vincent stood, shielding the boy. "No." The figure blinked. "Then choose." Vincent looked at his brother, then at the mirror, and he understood. The road wasn't about escape. It was about guilt. It was about return. He stepped forward, past his reflection. He whispered to Thomas without looking back, "Run." Thomas hesitated. Then he ran through the crack in the mirror. Light spilled through as he vanished. The reflection stared at Vincent. "You remember now?" Vincent nodded. "I do." The road behind the mirror opened again, but he didn't walk it. He sat down. The world turned gray. The heartbeat beneath the floor grew faint. The mirror went dark. Far away, on another stretch of hollow road, a young boy ran barefoot toward morning light, and somewhere in the trees, just beyond the curve of the road, a man stood still, smiling, waiting.